Written by English author H.G. Wells in 1897, The War of the Worlds was a revolutionary narrative that not only shaped the way we see science fiction, but also has lasted for generations. A timeless classic, up there with Bram Stoker's Dracula or Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. However, the unfortunate truth is, War of the Worlds hasn't really had a big impact, or an impact at all in the video game scene, which is a shame. Besides the PlayStation 1 take on War of the Worlds, which was a decent vehicular combat game, the only other War of the Worlds offering PlayStation has is the recently released Grey Skies, a War of the Worlds story. Developed by indie studio Steel Arts Software, Grey Skies differs from the PlayStation 1 War of the Worlds game massively, this time trying to capture the dread and terror that the original story conveyed. Where the PS1 adaptation has us control military vehicles and fight off the Martian invaders, Grey Skies pits us as your everyday woman, caught in the middle of this invasion. A welcome setup for a game set within this lore. So does it do H.G. Wells' original works justice, or does it throw its source material out of the window? Straight out of the gate, the best way to describe Grey Skies is The Last of Us, but with zero polish and not nearly the same budget. This is a third-person stealth adventure game, has the same controls, the same mechanics, and even the exact same crafting system and menu layout as The Last of Us does. But while it may seem like a criticism, I actually really liked that it drew inspiration from that game, because the crafting system in The Last of Us is very intuitive. Gonna copy from anyone, copy from the best, am I right? But you can't help not notice how much of a lesser budget this game has when it tries to be this familiar. Grey Skies has no combat. All you can craft is throwables, like smoke bombs, flash grenades, and items to distract enemies. Enemies of which there's only 2 types of in the entire game, but we'll get onto those in a second. Grey Skies, much like The Last of Us, is a linear adventure game. Go through the levels from A to B, there'll be obstacles in your way like boxes you'll have to push, or gates which you'll need to find the key for, and there's moments of exploration to find crafting parts just like The Last of Us. And you'll also find a currency along your adventure known as Red Weed, which lets you upgrade your character's items and focus mode, just like The Last of Us. The similarities are getting a little silly now, but this truly is a no-combat version of Joel and Ellie's flagship game. So you might be thinking, well, The Last of Us is pretty good, I enjoy that, if it's more of that, then I'll get this. Well, just wait, this review is far from finished. Grey Skies has you play as... I honestly can't remember this gal's name. Basically, she's a nobody. She has no background, no reason why we are here in the first place, no story to tell, and no personality. In fact, when she did speak in the game, I forgot she could speak at all. She has like 3 lines in the whole game. The game starts with her in a plane crash, which she obviously miraculously survives, and then for the next 10 minutes you're just slowly walking from this wreckage in this forest whilst listening to some completely out of place song with vocals. It feels so strange, almost emotional, like they're trying to pull on our heartstrings already, because this game thinks we have feelings for her or the people who just died in the plane crash. Either that, or the game's creators just loved this song so much they thought they'd just stick it in here without explanation. After a slow opening, Grey Skies has a very ambitious first level exploring an abandoned farm. You'll explore this place, finding keys, collecting quest items, and trying to escape. The game well captures that horror aspect, with you wondering what has happened to the farm's owners. Have the aliens took them? Are they gonna appear at any moment and be like some rabid zombies? Have they been killed? It has this great ambience playing in the background, and if the game stayed this powerful and open all the way through, this could have been a promising experience. Except in the second level of this game, this all goes out of the window. After the farm area, the game never really gets back to that kind of pseudo-open design, a design in which is linear but you don't feel like you're just headed in one direction. Instead, the rest of the game is so incredibly scripted and straight cut that my enjoyment ran short fast. Every other level is get to point B, in between you and it will be these possessed looking human enemies. You'll need to stealth around them to find a key or a number code and then exit the level. Hit the same loading screen every time, which spoils the tripods of the game, and then repeat. But this time you're in the sewers, or this time you're in the caves, or wherever the next level is set. When there are no human enemies, it's very specific what you need to be doing, but the game doesn't communicate this very well to the player. The problem is, your objective is often so vague, like most of the time it's look around. What kind of objective is that? And you can be running around for ages trying to find out what the very specific thing is you have to do. A good example of this is the section on a boat. Your objective is again to look around, so I checked all the floors, and on the top deck nothing happens. It turns out there is an empty room on one of the bottom floors that I needed to go into first, and then the game has a pop-up saying investigate the top deck, which is where I just come from. This is again poorly implemented use of triggers, or you'll get something like clear the room of poisonous air. What you have to do is throw rocks through the windows at the top of this mansion-esque room, but the bottom windows don't smash for some reason. So if you've thought of doing this to try and get the poisonous air out of the room, but tried the windows you're already facing and figured out that they don't smash, it makes no sense to then try the top ones. It's so inconsistent, so vague, and to top it off, the stealth in this game is also vague and inconsistent. From dumb enemy AI often not seeing you when they should be able to, or spotting you when they shouldn't. There's only two types of foes: your generic possessed humans who can see you and chase after you if they spot you and will bash you up with whatever melee weapon they have in their hands. Then there's these electrically charged foes that they can't see you, but they hear you through movement. They're clickers, they're basically clickers. Except again, it's inconsistent. See, if you're in front of them and are crouch walking, they will hear you for some reason. But if you're behind them and crouch walking, they can't hear you. This game's stealth is just dumb. And towards the end of this 5 to 6 hour game, I literally just ran through the stealth sections as the levels are not well designed, the stealth is so slow and derivative, and you have so little options, you'll want it to be over. The protagonist herself is also a pain to control. She'll often get stuck on the environment, too close to a wall or a door. She'll oftentimes just stop if you're in a sprint. She also comes with very stiff controls and animations. The game rarely has you meet a few other survivors along your way, but there's no memorable conversations here to speak of, no noteworthy NPCs. In fact, I can't remember who anyone is. And to top it off, there's no plot here at all. There's no documents to find on the aliens. In fact, the aliens never show up. You do see the tripods though, like half a dozen times in all the game's loading screens. Honestly, why would you have the big threat and horror of this franchise in all of the loading screens? It massively spoils the first appearance of these machines. Although there isn't really much to spoil at all. The first reveal of the tripod leads into a flipping Crash Bandicoot style chase sequence in which you need to hide behind these rocks when the tripod's laser begins to fire at you. Again, this is so vague that I imagine many will not think of this due to it being so poorly communicated and just run. This will frustratingly get you killed a ton because that's not what you're supposed to do. And thus, Even the tripods are flat out ruined for you because the game just doesn't know how to convey to the player what you're supposed to do. Don't initiate a chase level in the vein of Crash Bandicoot with the exact same camera layout and expect everyone to not just run. I wish I could talk more about this game, but there isn't really much else to say. This is a low budget, poorly designed stealth game that misses everything that made people love the original works by H.G. Wells. That battle of survival, what would you do in an alien invasion scenario? This is gone in favour of deserted levels with no life or energy, a protagonist with zero personality, story or voice, and a world so drab and dull. Even Tim Burton's depiction of this world would have had more colour to it. This game turned the iconic, horrifying tripods into dozens of static loading screens and a frustrating chase sequence. Poor stealth, drab level design, excruciating enemies, grey skies, a War of the Worlds story gets from me an E for ooh, for the unfortunate fact that I just did not enjoy this game and I can't recommend it, even to fans of this franchise. Although what I can say is there certainly is potential here for a future project of the same team. This is only the building blocks for something much more creative and exciting. I'll see you all in the next video everyone. I hope you enjoyed and take care. Adios.